Yeah, well, the timing probably isn't perfect for him, what with that horrible loss and all. But what a great pleasure to welcome one of the great analysts and commentators in the game, former England captain Michael Vaughan. Thanks so much for joining us, and again, apologies for that.
Well, you did put me on last week, but then you cancelled it after England won. And then you decided to get me on after another batting collapse. But it was a great test match. I'll say it now, India are the best test team in the world, in my opinion. Their third string I'll just remind you, their third string beat Australia in your backyard just a few months ago. And now their best team, well, their kind of second best team without Ashwin, is doing a job on England in our conditions. They're a tremendous team.
I think your Instagram post this morning might have summed it up perfectly. I'm going to have a little look at it. Just a picture of you with a couple of eggs on your face.
Well, that was to do with the fact that, all of us over here, and I think many around the world, have not been able to kind of qualify the fact that Ashwin hasn't played. He's not bowled one ball in this series, and yet India are 2-1 up, should be 3-1. They'd have won that first test at Trent Bridge. Virat Kohli is an incredible leader. You know, he's just got this buzz of energy. He was taking the piss out of the army yesterday with his trumpet signs to the stands. I love it. I just think we don't have enough characters in the game, and when we have someone like Virat Kohli doing just that, kind of mimicking the crowd, trying to get his own supporters going. You know, when they came out after lunch, he was getting them going. It was like he was at the end of the long jump in the Olympics, trying to get the crowd going. He's an amazing character, and yesterday he gave a tactical masterclass on how to win a test match.
I like that you do like that, because some people had complained about him playing to the crowd and so on, but that's been one of the good things about this series is there's been a bit of pepper in it, hasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, those that complain are just boring. You know, they don't understand entertainment. We're in an entertainment industry where we need people like Virat Kohli. We need characters. You go back to the 80s and 90s, there was character, we worked with them. Shane Warne, one of the great characters, an absolute great guy, mad as a box of frogs, but you just know that you've got a great character in the commentary box on the field. And when you get someone like Virat Kohli who stands out, because we're in an era that we don't have a load of characters. There's not that many teams have characters that are willing to do what Virat does. He's very prickly. He doesn't like criticism. He's always answering back to anyone that criticises him. Again, I like that. It's not a problem. But what he's doing with this Indian Test match team is fantastic for the game, because, we need India to love Test match cricket. And with Virat at the helm, leading this side, they're certainly doing that, and they're playing to a great standard. And they're doing a job on my team at the minute. And I can't think they're going to let this lead slip with the forecast at Manchester. Not surprisingly, a little bit of rain forecast for the weekend. So this may be the end result, but the clouds might help England as well, because it might swing around a bit.
Vaughany, it's never a bad thing to have a world-class player, one or two or three, in your lineup. And England certainly have that with Joe Root. He's captain. He's scored centuries for fun this English summer. However, why the reliance on him? What has happened around him, and how does it fix itself before the end of the year when you lot come here?
I'll be honest with you. I think he's the chef as well, and the bus driver. He does everything for the England side. He's an amazing player. He's just found that rhythm of play this summer. He found it in the winter in Sri Lanka and India. He's just got that tempo to his batting. His technique has been just aligned a little bit better. Against New Zealand, he just had a couple of tests where he didn't quite feel at his best, and now he's got into his groove. But unfortunately, when you watch England, if Joe doesn't get the 100, you just don't see them getting those big scores. And I look at this test match that we've just seen at the Oval, and it almost kind of it was so much that the highlights of the deficiencies in this test match team came across the 5 days. When it was English, and for a day and a half, the pitch was very English. The ball was moving around. Par scores of around 250, 300. England are a very good team, because they'll always have a player that gets you a 70 or 80. Ollie Pope did that. It got to 290. But then it became an overseas pitch. It became a pitch where the ball wasn't swinging. You needed that little bit of pace in your attack, a bit of a mystery spinner or a world-class spinner. And with the bat in hand, you need players that can bat for 130, 140 overs. England are a very, very good test team when it's an 80-over game. So you bat for 80 overs, you bowl for 80 overs, and someone will make a difference. when it becomes a proper game of Test match cricket, which is what you get overseas, is what we'll get in the Ashes series in a few months' time, this England Test match team are not that good. You know, they don't have the pace, they don't have the mystery, and they don't have at the minute, apart from Joe Root, batters that can bat a long period of time. There's only, even when Ben Stokes is back into the side, Josh Butler's back into the side, there's only Joe Root in that top 7 that averages over 40 in Test match cricket. And to compete against the best teams, you need 4 or 5, maybe 6 players in that top 7 to have average over 40. So he's pretty much the one-man batting unit at the minute. How long can he sustain that kind of weight on his shoulders? And we all know that when you get to a series like Australia, in Australia, those weights get that little bit harder and heavier. So it's a challenge. England somehow have got to find some batters or improve these players that are in the side to get the big scores. Also catching. I mean, I'm probably the one person that can't talk about catches and how important they are to take them, because I drop more than anybody. But this England catching. This England catching
Vaughn,
team.
you can talk about anything. You've been going for an hour and a half already.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you, Vaughn. To be honest, I felt rude.
Yeah, the reason I'm chatting is I don't want you to ask me any really hard-edged questions.
Good padding.
I'll quickly get in. Look, Tim Payne said that he'd spent a year in quarantine to play the Ashes, right? A lot of contention and question marks around whether England are going to come to Oz. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah, it'll come. But Tim Payne's talking utter garbage. He won't spend a year in quarantine. What absolute? That's ridiculous. He wouldn't do that. Let's be fair. You know, this England side, they've spent pretty much the last 18 months in bubble life. You know, wherever they've been, even when they came out of cricket in bubbles, we were locked up here in the UK. Look, the Ashes will happen. I have no doubt about that. Whether it's with a full-strength England side, I'm not too sure. There may be 1 or 2 players that are a part of all formats that might drop out, and I'd understand that. That's just the nature of the beast of these times. But whatever happens and whatever team England bring, the way that they play when the ball's not moving around and the way that they bat when they're up against a bit of pace or a bit of difference, you know, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Mitchell Starc, Jai Richardson, Nathan Lyon, the bowling attack of Australia is better in Australian conditions than England have. So whichever team arrive in Australia, and there will be a team that comes to Australia, I can guarantee you that it's not going to be easy for the England team.
Vaughany, what about a contingency plan if the Barmy Army aren't allowed to travel to Australia? Are the recruiters going to be hanging outside the Coogee Bay Hotel at 3 a.m? What's your thoughts? I could be your man on the ground.
Well, I'll be honest, that's usually me at 3 a.m. coming out of that hotel.
I'll see you there.
Well, I'll be there for you. Look, it's quite clear we're not going to have England fans travelling over, but there's a lot of expats over in Australia that I'm sure we all want fans in the ground. You know, an Ashes series, in empty stadiums isn't an Ashes series for me. So I'm sure fans will be in the ground. The expats will have to come out in their thousands. They know their songs. They just need to find someone to play the trumpet. It's not hard, is it? Just get someone to play the trumpet and away you go.